Hello everybody, Dave here, and as you can see, I've had a haircut and a beard trim, although it's not looking very even, anyway. Right, it's quite late in the day, it's gone 6 PM. I was hoping to get stuff done way before now, but to be fair, I didn't sleep well. I was up early, I've been back to bed 2 or 3 times today. So yeah, by the time I sort of got everything organised, yeah, day's getting on a bit, but I'm going to try and crack on now. 2 things that I'm going to be trying to do. First off is this. I just want to give this a very fine light sanding. The top is feeling quite smooth anyway. The bottom's feeling a little bit rough, so I'm just going to give it a light sanding. So that's one thing to do. And then the other thing is to make a start on my corners. Now, on the back, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, I've kind of drawn a bit of a circle or a curve of what I'm going to go with. But what I'm going to try and do is, I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work, so one of the things I might try and do is actually clamp this onto the table like this with the clamps here, so that I can just work on the corner and then work on the corner, having it facing towards me, so that I can see if I'm causing any additional damage to the resin. Depending on how that goes, I mean, my main aim is to get all 4 corners done, and then depending on how that goes and how the resin behaves, will depend on whether I'm going to perhaps try and add a little bit of curvature to the lip of the resin. At some point, hopefully over the next few days, I will get on to sanding down the main face, but I'm not in a position to do that yet because we've got stuff to do. Also, I'm noticing things are sticking to it. It's like a bloody magnet. But anyway, right. Gonna get started. So what I'll do is, for now, I'll keep this on for a moment. Although I've got all my superfine sanders and stuff like that, I'm just gonna, the sanding paper, I'm just gonna use the good old sponge, simply because it should go a little more with the curvature. And also this is only a very light sanding, so that I can put one more coat of varnish on it. It's had about 4 coats of varnish, but it soaked it in quite nicely, to be honest. So I'd say the top is just about where I would want it to be. The underneath is close, but that's why I'm obviously going to give it a bit of a sanding now. Now, I'm not going to put the varnish on it now. I just want to get all the sanding done kind of like at the same time. Now, I've already drilled my holes in this. I haven't drilled the holes into the other piece yet. To be honest, I'll get that lined up once everything is sorted. The corners are done and everything. Although I've got gloves on, I can still feel it's slightly smoother. Now, I'm not going for perfect smooth, but just a little smoother than it was. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to put some pads on here. But yeah, so like I say, that's got another coat of varnish to have on it, but it's going to need a clean. So get a cloth just to pick up any of that sawdust that will be hanging on there. I must admit, it's been a few days since I've done much on this, because of waiting to be able to do the sanding because it's going to take a bit, well, it's going to be a bit noisy, but I've been, by the way, this is another project for in the future. What was it? Yeah, I've been trying to think of, like, is there a better way to create the corners on the main piece, and unfortunately, I'm not coming up with a better idea, because if I use anything like a jigsaw or a cutting tool, I could crack the resin more, and I don't want to crack the resin, so I need to hope, right, I also need to hope that when I clamp this, that I don't clamp it too hard and squash the resin and then have it fracture that way. So I've kind of had to do an awful lot of thinking about how I'm going to do this, which probably means I'm going to absolutely bugger it up. We shall see. Okay, so what I want to do, as I said, is I just want to clamp this on here. But like I said, not in a way that's going to hopefully cause any damage to the resin. Now, I don't know if this will work. I don't know if it'll hold it well enough. I just want to have a bit more contact patch. So it's kind of held in place at the moment, which is good enough for me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with 180 grit, just to try and give it a little bit of corner. Now I might not go for doing as much corner as I've drawn on, simply because of where the lettering is on this side, because that's the other thing I need. I basically need to be able to see exactly what I'm doing, and to be honest, I'm only really needing to do enough to cover what damage I caused. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording so that we can go on to fast forward, because we ain't going to hear shit anyway, and we'll be back in a second. quick update before I try and get a little bit more done. Right, you will have seen that I've rounded the corners off a bit. I've not done it anywhere near as much as I was going to initially, mainly because I like how it was looking with what I've done. I've also applied some wax in here, in the holes in the top. I was going to do glue and sawdust, but I thought no, we'll try the wax. Well, I remember to be worth cleaning that off so I'm not getting, when it comes to varnishing, I'm not going to get an area where it's not going to stick. And what I'm going to do in a minute is, so I was kind of contemplating what step am I going to take next, and I was going to varnish the wood, but I was struggling with how I would protect the resin, or basically get no varnish on the resin. And in some ways you could go, well, it doesn't really matter if it gets on there because I was going to sand it, but I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand the resin first, because I'm going to apply varnish to the resin. So if I sand the resin, get that cleaned up, get that dealt with, then basically the whole thing can be varnished. So that's the plan. So I'm going to try and get a bit of that process done. Now we're going to go with wet sanding. So I've got the wet sanding sheets that I've used previously, which I'm going to try and use again, because I mean I had cleaned them up once. So basically what we'll do is we'll go from 320 grit all the way through to what is it? Well, I've got 2000 on the power, and then if I want to try and clean it up more, excuse me, I've got the other sanding sheets, the square ones, the rectangular ones. Regarding the edging, I'm not going to be polishing up the edging of the resin, because I actually don't mind how it looks, and when it was wet, when I was cleaning it with the white spirits, it's got a nice colour to it. So hopefully when it comes to polishing it, adding the varnish to it, it should help it. Now what I'm going to need to do with this is I am going to need to tidy up the edge. Now I'm actually thinking, I'm kind of thinking about perhaps doing that by hand, because it'd be very easy to go through the resin with the power tool, because I know it is, because I very nearly did it earlier. So I might try doing that, but one of the things I had noticed on different things that I've worked on with resins is that when I've used a sandpaper by hand in a sort of horizontal motion, it does tend to cut deeper. So I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll actually we'll see how we get on. I'm just going to give it a little try. Think about it. Actually, that'll be alright. Now, one reason for using wet dry is hopefully it should cause less friction, less damage, if it was going to cause any damage. Yeah, so rather than just going across in a straight line, I'm going to try and go in a few circles I'm not looking at taking loads off here. I'm literally just looking at trying to level it off. Whether it'll work with me doing it by hand or not, I don't know. I mean, it probably would. It could just take a while. Okay, what I should really do is just focus on one bit and let's see how that goes. It's getting there, but I suppose it's one of those, do you want it done quick or do you want it done tidy? I mean, it's definitely having an effect on it. So I think, given how delicate the edge could be, it might be better off carrying on like this by hand. Chunk there. Because it's sort of on the lip, it's very difficult for me to feel it while I'm actually sanding it. I mean, it's definitely working, obviously, but okay, interestingly, at this angle I can kind of see more the notches I'm working with, and looking at it, I think I might be better off using the power tool. Yeah, there is quite a few notches there. Okay, we'll go with the we'll go with using power. Okay, update for you. I'm not sure what the time is. It's gone on a bit, so I'm basically going to stop for today. Interestingly, well, for the most part, the cleaning up of the top hasn't been going too bad, but I've kind of got an odd experience going on, which I mean, one of the reasons I want to stop is because I want to touch it with my hands. Okay, so basically, what I'm getting on the top of the resin is sort of a very odd patterning, but it's basically it almost looks like cracks, but it's not cracks. It's almost as if there's like a sticky substance. And actually, you know what, if I, having just tilted it, yeah, I can see it. It's almost like there's a film of something on the top surface. See if I can get it to show up on there. Now I've only just seen it in its full sort of exposure. Let's see if I can. So, sort of on the L's down here, there's like a bit of an odd patterning. You may even be able to see some coloration. But let's see if I can. Okay, so look at where the O is. Or the sun, you can not sunlight, the line. It looks like you can see loads of circles. It's almost like there's a film or something has sort of. Well, it actually looks like craters or snake skin. Now, like I said, I've only just seen that in its fullest, which is interesting. Now, I wonder if that's to do with where the heat, well, no, it shouldn't be about where I applied heat, because I applied heat everywhere. Okay. It's interesting that I didn't actually see it in its entirety. And crocodile skin is what it looks like, actually. Okay, so what I had been trying to do was sand away where I was seeing the white, which looks like the resin basically sticking in indentations. So although it looks flat, it potentially isn't. So when I start sanding it, the gloopy resin gets into those not cracks, but into those indentations and potentially sits there. I mean, what it does tell me is that it's not level. Now, unfortunately, I haven't got any wet dry sheets that go on the power sander that are a finer grit, a coarser grit than 320, because 320 wasn't doing it. So what I ended up doing was going to 180 on the wet dry sheet and doing it by hand, and I noticed that was actually that was removing a lot of the coloration from this end. There was a lot over here. Now I thought it was mainly from where I'd used these packing pieces a few days ago, but I'm guessing it must be an effect of the resin. So yeah, the 180 grit seemed to be helping, so I did as much as I could, by hand with that. But it got to a point where the sheet was fucked and so was I. So I went to a 240 grit on a normal sheet, which looked like it was working. I mean, you won't have heard me, but I said to myself, right, I'm going to have to fuck it up to clean it up. which, having seen this now, I mean, interesting, when I was doing it in the dry, I had spotted these sort of hazy circles appearing, and I was thinking, oh, it's a bit odd. But now I know why, and it's not level, basically. So the other reason that I've stopped is because I wanted to inspect this. I mean, it feels, to the touch, it feels flat, but clearly it isn't. So yeah, so I stopped there because what I'm going to have to do, and this is where the experience of some of the other resin work has come in, is that there is absolutely 0 point in me going through all of the sanding sheets and trying to get this to polish up, because what I'm starting with here is not ready for that yet. I mean, interestingly, yeah, although it looks flat, it isn't, because I've got just here, I don't know if you can see it, I really would like to be able to show you. Okay, yeah, so there's like 4 or 5, you can see there's 4 or 5 hazy bits, right? Well, with my little finger, when I just went like that, I can actually feel the blah, blah, blah. So this isn't flat. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to come at it tomorrow, hopefully, and basically go, right, either 180 or 240. Thinking 240 grit, and we'll just get it down. We'll get it down so it's all the same shade of haziness. Now, if you remember from the number plate that I made for my brother, on the stairs that I did, when I'd clean it up, the middle of the stairs was shiny, but around the edge was hazy. And eventually I learned, right, that's telling me that it's not level, because it should all look the same. So that's what I'm going to have to do with this. I'm going to have to keep sanding this down. Now, thankfully, there's still about 2 to 3 mil of resin on there, so I'm okay with that. I mean, at the end of the day, if I ended up having to sand it down so there was almost nothing there, then so be it. I don't want it to have to go that far, but I mean, hopefully it shouldn't, but we'll see. Also, I am glad that I didn't varnish this first, the wood, because sanding resin, well, sanding wood creates a lot of sawdust. Sanding resin creates a lot of gloopy, fucking sticky shit that is fucking everywhere, and was all over this as well. So I've actually cleaned that up a little bit. Okay, so in a nutshell then, next time we're going to have to do some proper sanding on this until it is all the same colour of hazy, without any sort of shiny streaks or weird looking bits. Because although it looks weird where like the circular bits are, they're actually more right. That's how it kind of should look. So yeah, so we'll just have to keep sanding down until we get a nice finish, or a nice level haziness. And once we've got to that, then we can start working on cleaning it up. So yeah, but I mean, it's not been as successful a day with the sanding of it as I would have liked. But to be fair, I thought doing the corners would be a lot more awkward. I was very concerned about sanding the top, but I'm actually pleased with how that's going. So although I've hit a little bit of a roadblock, I'm not going to complain too much. So I'm going to take a break now. I'm going to go and do myself some dinner, and I'm going to cover this up just so it doesn't get covered in shit. Not that there should be shit flying around, but cover that up and chill out. So have a good one, everybody.